Hey everyone, this is Ryder from Skip. Breaking news today on the IRS backlog. Nearly 24 million folks across the U.S. are still waiting for their tax returns to be processed. And that's over 3 times what it was reported early in January. This is major new information. I'm going to talk about that and what that means for you if you're waiting for a refund or if you may owe taxes this year. But there's going to continue to be major delays. And speaking of taxes, the latest from Congress and Joe Manchin, our favorite, he's proposing tax hikes, but Sinema is against them. I'm going to talk about what tax rate hikes are currently being discussed and why. Is this still for the Build Back Better package or something else? And finally, I'm going to end with the economy and the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. We don't know what's going to happen there, but the threat of Russian invading Ukraine seems to be getting closer. That's driving oil prices up near $100, so you may see higher prices at the pump. And stocks ended lower as a result of this potential conflict. I'll talk about that news, plus our $1,000 grants. We're giving away more money to subscribers of our channel. So watch until the end, and if you're new, hit subscribe, turn on the alerts, and I'll tell you how you can enter our monthly $1,000 grant giveaways. We're going to pick $5,000 winners in a couple days. I'll tell you when we're going to pick those winners. Let me start with the major tax IRS news. Exactly 1 month ago, we put up a post. Here it is in Google, January 14th. 2022 tax season worse than 2021. And the news then from the IRS was around 6 to 10 million unprocessed tax returns. Okay, that was a month ago. Now, from the Washington Post, nearly 24 million taxpayers are still waiting on the IRS to process their tax returns from last year. So that's 2 to 3 times what the number was just a month ago, a number far larger than previously reported by the agency, with many refunds being held up for 10 months or more. If you've been waiting on a refund, would love to hear in the comments how this is affecting you. This backlog is unprecedented. 3 people spoke to the Washington Post on the condition of anonymity because they were not approved to speak about this publicly. This comes as the tax agency struggles to hire and train new staff to clear the logjam. In response, the IRS is considering suspending tax collections and excusing some penalty enforcement. A group of 30 Republicans described the situation as untenable in a letter sent this week to Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and IRS Commissioner Charles Rettig. But some Democrats are blaming Republicans. Here's a quote from Representative Richard Neal of Massachusetts. "For decades, Republicans have starved the IRS of funding, and now American taxpayers are paying the price." The backlog of tax returns is but one symptom of the fundamental issue that has been ailing the IRS for too long: inadequate resources. Frankly, I'm not 100% sure what the resource problem is, but like I've seen with many agencies, it's usually not throwing more people at the problem. The root issue is usually underlying technology, underlying systems. And again, for that, you typically don't need thousands of people. So maybe hiring hundreds or thousands of people is a band-aid to the major problem we're facing, but it's certainly not, in my view, going to fix what's likely the core problems, coming down to technology, processes, and the systems they have in place. But as we've reported before, a lot of this is very unique to the pandemic, that the IRS has had to support so many relief programs, not just the EIDL loan program, but the Child Care Tax Credit program and other programs that relied on tax returns for approval. But certainly there can be improvements in the system, and no doubt there's incredible waste. Turns out they give a few clues here later on in the article. Adding to the challenges, a new report from the IRS Inspector General, maybe I should start reading those just like I do for the SBA, found that the agency continues to suffer from severe hiring shortages, inefficient practices, and old equipment. That includes mail processing woes, since its systems have, quote, outdated dust collectors that cause paper jams. Poor scanners, meanwhile, meant the IRS last year missed out on $56 million because of, quote, untimely check deposits. As of January 28th, the tally of outstanding individual and business returns requiring what the IRS calls, quote, manual processing, so somehow got flagged just like the EIDL loans, which you all love, and it had to go to a manual pile to be reviewed, came to 23.7 million. That number includes 9.7 million paper returns awaiting processing, 4.1 million that were suspended because of errors with stimulus payments, 4.1 million amended returns, and 5.8 million pieces of correspondence awaiting action by the agency. Can you imagine a backlog of 5.8 million letters, essentially, that have to be replied to? So it's a crazy number. And of course, most people have not filed taxes already for last year. Things start to pick up mostly going into March and of course beginning of April. Most taxpayers file their tax returns electronically now, in case you are wondering. Only around 10%, that's about 17 million people, still file Form 1040. That's the traditional individual income tax return on paper. So most filing electronically, and we still have this backlog. Now, here's a quick tip. Returns are processed in the order in which they were received. So if you filed late, that may mean you're still waiting. So like many things, the earlier, the better. Of course, the backlog exists now, so even if you filed your taxes after watching this video and you're expecting a refund, you're probably still going to have to wait. But I'm going to leave some links in the description if you still have questions. So that's the tax news, and I want to talk about what's happening on Congress related to tax increases. But first, a quick shout out. If you want funding help as a small business owner or individual, our team at Skip will help you. We've helped tens of thousands of businesses secure over $1 billion in grants, in loans, public funding, and private funding. We will work with you, satisfaction guaranteed. You can go to helloskip.com/join. Choose premium or VIP if you really want in-depth support. Find a time slot. We have a few later this week. To book a time to talk with us, it starts with a 30-minute call. We'll answer all your questions and come up with a funding game plan for you. helloskip.com/join. Better yet, use the first link in the description. Okay, here's what's happening in Congress. Manchin is pushing Democrats to revisit tax rate hikes, but Sinema could be against this. Usually those two are aligned. So here's what's happening here. Build Back Better, of course, has stalled. Probably not going to get very far now. That's the childcare, healthcare, and climate package. So now Senator Manchin from West Virginia has repeatedly said the party should focus on an updated version of the bill on increasing government revenue. Here's the national debt clock. You know, it's over $30 trillion. We crossed that $30 trillion mark, I think, a week or two back. So Manchin's position has been, why are we talking about spending another trillion or $2? Let's try to get some more revenue. $30 trillion in debt is out of hand. I'd love to hear what you think about this in the comments. How big of a problem do you think this national debt is? And if you have any ideas, of course, maybe some of our friends in Washington are watching. So Manchin wants a good, solid tax plan that works, which includes raising the corporate tax rate to 25% from 21%, raising capital gains up to 28% from around 24%, and a few other increases. Kristen Sinema, on the other hand, is opposing, so I think it's split right now, 50-50. So again, this is a variation of the same negotiation that's been happening for several months, trying to get a climate, education, childcare bill passed on the one hand, on the other hand, talking about how we're going to pay for it and what lawmakers need to do to the tax code to make that happen. I'll keep you posted on how that shakes out. To end today, the threat of Russian invasion of Ukraine is shaking up a fragile global oil market, pushing prices closer to $100 a barrel as traders calculate that supplies will struggle to cushion the effect from any significant disruption in Russian fossil fuel exports. Of course, we know gas prices have already been going up. Demand for oil has outpaced production growth as the economies slowly rebound from the pandemic, which means there's a small buffer in place to mitigate an oil supply shock. That's why prices are going up. Russia is the world's third largest oil producer, and if a conflict in Ukraine leads to a substantial decrease in the flow of Russian barrels to market, it would be perilous for the tight balance between supply and demand. In addition, NASDAQ, S&P, and Dow are all down, all related to the possibility of war here as well. The Dow Jones was down 172 points or 0.5%. S&P declined 0.4%. So that's what's happening. I'm going to keep an eye on that. Those are two countries I've spent some time in, so I'm certainly interested from that perspective, but also what that means for the markets, because so many of these things have compounding effects and will probably end up affecting you one way or another. So to end today, guess what? We're picking $5,000 winners on Wednesday. I'm going to do a YouTube live. Mark it in your calendars, 11 a.m. Pacific. That's 2 p.m. Eastern this Wednesday, February 16th. We'll be doing these the third Wednesday of every month, where we will pick winners live. This is our YouTube revenue we are giving back to subscribers of our channel. So thanks to everyone who's tuned in, whether you've been a subscriber for 2 years or 2 days. Thanks to all of you. Most importantly, stay well, stay healthy, and I'll see you tomorrow.